I am here almost at the very end of the Pixar review series. As of today, I have reviewed every single Pixar movies, and then tomorrow I'll be watching Toy Story 5. But first, let's talk about Hoppers. Hoppers is the latest Pixar movie to come out earlier this year. It came out in March. And when I initially saw it, I said to myself, wow, this is actually a really good movie. And I like the story. It started a little goofy, but what animated movie doesn't start goofy? If anything, the movie does take a more serious tone later on. Around this time, Pixar was just falling flat on his face. Um, Besides the sequels, I think new and original stuff was a lot more difficult now that they're under new leadership. But it looks like after watching this movie, they are slowly picking stuff back up. Hopefully, Gato next year is good. But this movie, I was impressed. This was hands down one of Pixar's best movies in a while. And all I gotta say is, good job. This movie was actually directed by Daniel Chong, the director of We Bare Bears. I never watched the show, but I've heard great reviews, and honestly, the design of the characters do kind of match the bears there, just based on the animals. So you can tell that the director has a passion of doing stories with animals, so it kind of made this very good and a great way to enter him into the Pixar world. The movie stars Mabel, an environmentalist, someone who just appreciates nature because her grandma appreciates nature, but she also has this urge to put animals over humans. You'll notice it definitely when she turns into a beaver, but in this movie, she is all about wanting to take care of the environment and trying to stop Mayor Jerry, even going as far as to go to his house and argue with him. They argue back and forth, and the chemistry with Mayor Jerry and Mabel is actually really good, even though they're supposed to hate each other. I really like the arguments between them. It was actually kind of funny. John Hamm does a really good job as the mayor, and Piper Kurda, who I have not seen do anything since I didn't do it back in the Disney Channel days. I'm like, where have you been, girl? But she did a pretty good job as Mabel. I really like her vibe, and I really like how she portrayed Mabel. But eventually, she's trying to get petitions for people to listen to her. You know, when people go up to you with petitions in a paper, you know, people start questioning it because you know, I've been in those situations where someone comes with me with a clipboard when I'm just walking, minding my own business. You start getting curious whether or not this is a scam or not. But they do a good job, you know, showing you that. Eventually, she hangs out with this old man who apparently couldn't hear her this whole time, and then he puts a list of groceries. You know, everything is just not going to plan. And then she tries to find some beavers in this land that they're trying to destroy to build housing and bridges. Um, Later on, we do see a beaver, but it's not a actual beaver. It's actually a robot that was created by her professors who have been inventing this project called Hoppers, which is where you go inside the mind of a beaver and then you get to talk to other animal creatures in the process. Uh, Basically, you put this into this, as they like to say. And the big comparison is that this was like Avatar. And for me, Avatar is not a franchise that I personally follow, but they do make a joke about it being like Avatar. Like I said, I'm not a big fan of Avatar, so I was like very like iffy about watching this movie because I'm like, oh, is this movie gonna bore me? Luckily, it's only an hour and a half, but they do the best with that hour and a half. Eventually, Mabel goes into the robot beaver's body, and she explores and tries to find nature. And it's actually kind of seeing her interact with animals. Honestly, that was probably the best part of this whole movie is Mabel interacting with the animals. One of the funniest parts of the movie was when a bear is trying to eat this beaver, and then she stops it, and then the bear's like, "What? I gotta eat something." The beaver's like, "Yeah, like, who else is the bear gonna eat?" And then they're like, "So you want to get eaten? I don't know. Do you?" Like, I don't know. It's already awkward now, and apparently there's this whole thing about pond rules, by King George, who is brilliantly voiced by uh, Bobby Monahan. He does a phenomenal job here, and I was very gracious to have him here, and he does such a phenomenal job. I'm glad that they're getting actual voice actors for these roles, not just celebrities just because they're there. But anyways, he did a good job as King George explaining the pond rules. I like how they just embrace the whole, like, if you're hungry and you gotta eat, just eat. Screw it, those are just the rules, okay? So, we live in a world here where, like, animals are cool with being eaten by other animals. Like, okay, I get it. So there was that really cool thing. And apparently there's other kings across this area. And then later we find out that the mayor, Jerry, has been hiding speakers on the trees, which has been the reason why so many animals have been scattered and mixed in with each other, because they don't have space for themselves. So now they have to share. And in the process, as they're negotiating ways to work around this, we have this butterfly who is just being very angry and vicious about it. And then it gets to the point where Mabel accidentally kills her, and it leads to Titus becoming the king, who is actually the main villain of this story. Big twist there. We all thought that the villain was going to be the mayor, and sure enough, the big main bad guy was Titus. A caterpillar turned into a butterfly. Yeah, big plot twist, and I'm glad that they did not spoil that in the trailer. Eventually, when Mabel is trying to talk to the mayor about working out a deal about taking down the speakers for the animals, he still refuses. She even uses a shark as a threat. Eventually, Titus takes over. The professors make a human robot as Jerry, and this was kind of like a little bit dark for me, and I'm just like, yo, this is a little spooky. I'm not gonna lie, just like the way the character moves and walks around and talks. Like, there's even a part where they rip off the robot's face and it looks creepier. So, and Dave Franco did a really good job at voicing Titus. Like, he was a really good villain. Eventually, the other animals are realizing that what he is doing is wrong, and now he's gonna hurt the humans, while Mabel is trying to find a way to embrace loving humans and loving animals. And it looks like, helping animals took up a lot of her childhood. Even I didn't even talk about the opening where she's trying to save these turtles and all these other animals at the school. But eventually, the finale is really a real tearjerker, classic Pixar, and it felt very earned. Even though Mabel couldn't understand George anymore, George still considers her family, and then they're breaking these logs in order to stop these wildfires that's gonna basically burn the entire city. But luckily, all the animals and Mabel work together to use this water to save all the humans, and in the process, the mayor and Mabel officially decide to work together. Like, hey, listen, I owe you one. I'm still gonna build that bridge, but we'll find a way to work together. So I like that they didn't go the same typical route of like, okay, we're gonna have Mabel learn her lessons and the mayor learn his lessons, but they found a way to negotiate and make it cool. And then we all thought that eventually Mabel maybe would have stayed uh, a beaver for the rest of her life, but instead she embraces being a human. Now that the Hoppers project is dead in the waters, she's still in the nature. She's still sitting in that rock where her grandma would sit. When she burned that sweater, it was very emotional because I have sentimental value stuff. Like if I lose something specifically, then I get emotional because it has a lot of special meaning to me. So when she burned that sweater, it hit close to home. And the finale of just King George just playing with the phone, pressing emojis, that's how they're communicating, which is beautiful. But the nail in the coffin to make this a perfect movie was the final song. SZA played this beautiful song at the very end, and I was just emotional. I'm like, this is one of the best Pixar movies in a while. Now, it's not perfect. I'm not gonna lie. There's a lot of quirkiness to it that didn't work for me, particularly in the beginning. Mabel was written really bad in the beginning, and a lot of the other human characters were kind of I get it. They're just supposed to just be there as plot devices, but the professors were kind of boring, and there was no reason why one of the professors was really mean. Outside of that, I had myself a good time. This is hands down one of Pixar's best original movies in a while, and I really hope that Pixar does go the route more of making new stuff instead of focusing on sequels, and more importantly, making good movies. I'm giving this I'll give it an A minus. It's not perfect, but it's still really good. And I do hope that down the road that we get more classic Pixar stuff with a little taste of like the newer feelings of that. Luckily, Pete Docter produced it. You guys know I'm a big fan of Pete Docter. And yeah, that's it for this series up until tomorrow, which Toy Story 5 will be up. I'll definitely upload a short right after. But more importantly, I will be reviewing a full spoiler filled review a week from today. And when that happens, that will be the end of the Pixar review series. Take care, everybody. This was a fun ride, and I'll see you next week with Toy Story 5.